Hey guys, welcome back. Well, today I'm going to be doing a quick unboxing video for the new Snaptain SP650. Now recently I did, a few months back I did a review of the SP600, and I believe this is meant to sort of be the successor since it's in the same kind of name and convention, and model number. But this, as you can probably tell by the box, is going to be a lot smaller than the SP600 was, though it does have the same, not real impressive range advertised at 80 meters like the SP600, but this has a really big 1000 milliamp battery, and it comes with two of them and two chargers. So they advertise this at around 24 minutes flight time. Now I don't think we're going to get that, but I think 18 to 20 sounds reasonable, and that would be darn impressive with two batteries. And has a 1080p camera. It films at 25 frames per second with a 120 field view, 120 degree field of view, and a 90 degree tilt, though that is manual. It's not done through the controller, so you can't do that. You can't adjust the camera while you take off. You have to preset it. It's not fixed, but you have to set it. But the camera itself is hard mounted. Anyway, enough talking on that. Let's go ahead and open the box and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and get it out of here. Go ahead and set the box off to the side. And there it is. Comes a little notification about scan the QR code and register online to activate your 12-month or 1-year warranty. So let's go ahead and pull the drone out here. So it looks pretty nice. It's kind of maybe X5C size. It's small. Might be even smaller than an X5C. I actually never really owned the actual F5C, so I'm not exactly sure. But here's your camera. Again, you do have to adjust this manually here. But this is a 1080p camera at 25 frames per second. So we'll have to see how that does. This is a hard mount. It's not dampened, so I expect there is going to be some jello with these brushed motors. They're geared as well, so you're going to probably get some vibes. Hopefully the jello is not bad, because I want to really see how that 1080p camera does, because 1080p cameras have certainly become the new thing on toy drones. You typically just see 720p or even the old SD 480p, and this actually, like I said, does 1080p at 25 frames per second, and it has an micro SD card slot, which means you can record this stuff to the SD card, and you don't have to worry about, you shouldn't have to worry about any drop frames. It should all record locally. So, when you're recording just over the Wi-Fi feed to your app on the phone, you're always going to have frozen frames or drop frames, and then of course that makes for a really bad video recording, and this should not have that problem. It's just 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi from what I can tell, so it is going to have some cross interference with your controller or home Wi-Fi, so that will affect its range. It advertises 80 meters on the control range, but the Wi-Fi may only be like 50 or something. You're not going to get really good when you use 2.4. It's preferable that they use 5. You have to attach the landing gear, which I'll show you here in a minute. The battery, one of two of them, is already inside of the battery bay. This is not going to probably be readable on my head cam, because my head cam, as good as it is, does not do well up close. So I don't know if it would read this text, but it says 1000 milliamp hour on this rather large battery with a nice red JST connector. Here is the second battery here. May need both hands to pull that out. This is your other 1000 milliamp battery. So you got two, and like I was been thinking, you might be able to get upwards of 40 minutes flight time between the two batteries. So red JST is nice. You can use a hobby grade charger to charge it up. You'll get a more true or accurate charge, and you'll also be able to charge at a much higher amp. You can charge this at 2 amps, which would be 2C safely, and charge way faster than the provided USB chargers that's in the bag. Here's the controller, which I'll go over in a minute. Got your instruction manual wedged in here, and you've got your full set of extra props that have that nice, neat, accent, as you can see on the ones that are installed. Really makes the drone look really sharp. And here's your bag of goodies. Just inside of here, we've got two of those USB to red JST chargers. You got a Phillips screwdriver, and you've got some screws to tighten those down so they don't just fall off. and you've got your landing gear to attach. So make sure you do attach that landing gear. Since you've got a camera on there, you need the landing gear to land it smoothly. You've got a full, obviously it's going to be full, but you're going to have your set of prop guards here. Again, I don't recommend these, as I say in all my reviews, unless you're an absolute beginner or for some reason you're going to be flying it indoors, which this is a little too big to fly indoors. But you know, if you have a really large room or you're going to a gym or something, you could. And this will obviously protect the props if you run into the walls. But for outdoors, it just makes really good tree hangers. I would not use those if you're going to fly it outdoors. This is your phone clip to put on the controller, and you just install it like this, and then you put your phone in there. And this actually feels pretty comfortable, and I think it's going to probably be pretty well balanced as it is. I just got to get it sort of centered in there, and that'll be pretty nice. A little top heavy, but you expect that. On the controller, your power button here in the middle, you've got your pitch and roll trims over here. You've got your speed rates here, which is going to be 2 or 3 speeds. I don't recall what amount of speeds it is. Your 3D flips right here in the direction you want to flip. This is your camera button. Short press is photo, long press it's going to start your video recording. I would do that and not use the app just to ensure that it does record to the SD card. Sometimes if you do it in the app, it just records the Wi-Fi feed and it won't record to the SD card. It probably won't. That probably won't be a problem. It probably will record, but to the SD card if you use the app. But I always like to use the controller for SD card recordings just to be safe. This button here is your auto takeoff and auto landing. It has altitude hold, so you expect those drones typically do have auto takeoff and auto landing. This button down here is your headless mode on a short press. So if you're a beginner and you don't, like orientation's still an issue, you might choose to use that. I don't typically even demonstrate that because I think you need to learn orientation when you do these. If you're just starting out in the hobby. A long press will do a 1-key return, which uses headless mode to basically just fly backwards. So remember that if you got it out in front of you and you're facing the direction you took off, it'll fly backwards to you. But if you got it behind you, it's just going to keep flying and fly away. So make sure you keep it in front if you use the 1-key return, which is another reason why I don't usually mess with that. And this is an auto yaw button. It's just going to spin the drone really quickly like a top, which ought to be just the same as just yawing like this and holding it. The way you cancel that is just press the button again or just give it any right stick input and it will cancel the auto yaw. Now the app on the phone is for your Wi-Fi recording and FPV and features is called Snaptain Nova. It's a new app. It doesn't use the old Snaptain era. It's called Snaptain Nova, which I'll put a screenshot here of that app on the Google Play Store. And you just connect your Wi-Fi and you go into the app. I'm not going to open it up. You're not going to be able to even see it. It does have, a feature in it called like hand gestures, which I tested on the SP600, which work quite well. Like I think 2 fingers will tell it to take a photo, I think it was, and a hand does the video recording, and you do it again to start and stop. Well, I'll try to remember to test that when we actually do the flight review. It worked fairly well on the SP600, so I expect it will work similarly on the SP650. So that pretty much, I think, covers all the stuff on this drone. I'm curious to see how this little camera does on this guy, and does it have a lot of jello or not, and how's that flight time going to be with this really big battery. I expect it to get a nice long flight time. Again, this is not going to have really good range. It's advertised at 80 meters, which is about what I think the old SP600 was rated at. So just keep that in mind. Keep it fairly close. 80 meters is not terrible, but it's certainly not great. So this is not a long distance, long range flyer. And really, I don't like to push toys very far unless it's got GPS, because then if it loses connection, it will fly back and land. Otherwise, you got to do the old walk of shame and go pick it up if it ends up falling out of the air because it loses its connection with the controller, which it should cut the motors if it does lose connection. Hopefully it will not just fly away, but some of the older drones years ago, they used to forget to tell them to cut motors and they would just fly away from you. We don't want that to happen. Alright guys, well that wraps up this quick unboxing and overview of the Snaptain SP650. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate if you subscribe and click the bell after you do that so you're notified every time I do upload a new video. And as always guys, have a great day.
The power of the dark side, 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 side.